Hi, I'm Gary White, Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television, and I'm cooking through the calendar again with Luke Freese at the Nelson County Extension Office. As you can see, we're doing it this month for the month of May via Zoom again because we're still social distancing, but hopefully we were just discussing that maybe in June we'll have the opportunity to actually cook together again.
Which would be exciting, and it would be fun. It's always more fun when you're able to interact in person, but this way we get double the food. So
exactly, but I have to do the work. Usually when I just stand there and let you do it, it's a lot better.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
So as you said, this is the month of May, and we're going to be cooking through our calendar. It's the Food and Nutrition Calendar put out by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Services. You can get a copy of the calendar at all the different extension offices and follow along. And for the month of May, we're going to be doing lettuce wraps.
Yes, it looks like a great lunchtime meal. Last time we did the turkey stuffed peppers last month, and we're barely getting this one in before May's over. But this looks like a great lunchtime. I don't know if you can eat 12 wraps at home, Gary, if you're there by yourself, but maybe you can give it a shot. It'll be the 12 lettuce wrap challenge. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, we'll work our way through them. But they look like healthy stuff, and often the recipes in here are quasi-healthy or healthy-ish, right?
Right. Well, they've a lot of them have been adapted from different recipes that were already pretty healthy and nutritional, but they've either reduced the salt or reduced the saturated fat content. So I know this one calls for some different things: low sodium soy sauce, garlic powder instead of garlic salt or salt. And so we're just trying to make sure we reduce our sodium and then reduce kind of all that bad cholesterol and fat. So
absolutely. And I do have all of our ingredients up here that I'm going to be working with, and I know Luke has the ingredients there as well. And what I kind of run through, it's a ground beef base, right, that we're going to be cooking up.
Right. So it is ground beef. A lot of you can get ground beef in different varieties with different fat contents. I have the 80-20, 80% lean meat, 20% fat. But as you can see in the recipe, once we cook that down, a lot of that fat's going to soak out of it, and it's going to be just in the form of grease in our pan. And that's why it asks us to drain the ground beef before we consume it, so we can get rid of some of that fat.
Okay, cool. Well, why don't we get started? So the first thing is the ground beef, so we can get that started to cook up, right?
Correct. And if you want to, we can go ahead and throw that in the pan. So I'm going to do, it says a pound of ground beef. Again, I have the 80-20. You can get it as lean, I think, as like 96% lean meat. But you're going to pay a little bit more for that. And so if we're going to drain the fat out of it anyway, we're not really hurting ourselves there if you just can get the 80-20 or the less lean variety. And obviously, meat right now is kind of at a premium. Some of it's hard to find. And so if you can find ground turkey, or you can find chicken that you just want to slice up into strips or cut it up real fine to almost make it a ground chicken, you could use this same recipe, I would imagine, with any one of those kinds of proteins.
I can just hear it sizzle.
What's that?
I can hear it sizzle.
Yeah.
The noise from the meat.
It's sizzling so loudly that I can hardly hear you there, Gary. But so we did add our pound of ground beef, and I'll just run through the ingredients list. I know sometimes I fail to do that, so maybe I can just run through it real quick so people know at home what we'll be using. We got a pound of ground beef, 3/4 cup of shredded carrots. You can buy those pre-processed and already shredded, or you can buy the whole carrot and shred it yourself, depending on what you might have. We have 8 ounces of fresh white mushrooms chopped. Again, you can get those processed in slices, or you can buy whole mushrooms. And it doesn't specify, it specifies white mushrooms. 1 8-ounce can of water chestnuts, which I'm not a big fan of water chestnuts, but For this one, I'm going to go ahead and do water chestnuts. It says at the end of the recipe you can substitute celery if you'd rather do celery. It's really a texture thing. Water chestnuts have a lot of nutritional value too, but they are actually, yeah, there you go. They're actually a root that grows in fresh water. And so you find them in a lot of Chinese dishes, Asian-inspired dishes. I think it's just the texture for me. They don't really taste like much, but I'm not a fan of the texture. But I'm going to use them today. I've chopped them up a little more fine than I normally would.
So are you using the celery? Are you doing the celery?
I'm going to do the water chestnuts just because I've just chopped them up real fine, so maybe I can't notice them as much.
Gotcha.
We're going to do 3 green onions chopped, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1/4 a cup of low-sodium soy sauce, 1/4 a teaspoon red pepper flakes, 1/4 a teaspoon of ginger. For the ginger, you can do fresh ginger. You can find ginger in a paste. You can find ginger that's dried and in a ground ginger in like a container like you would an herb or a spice. Whichever one you want to use. I'm going to use fresh ginger today. A teaspoon of honey, 12 lettuce leaves, and then again you can substitute celery for water chestnuts if you'd like. So seems like a lot of ingredients, but I think we can make it happen.
Okay. So my ground beef is cooking away. My ground beef is turning brown, which is good, right?
There you go. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. Yes. So I believe you started saying that you could actually do ground turkey as well.
You can. You could do ground turkey. I said you could probably just, if you had chicken breasts and you wanted to cut them up in slices or cut them up real fine, chop up chicken breast, you could do that. You could even use leftover, if you have like leftover pulled pork or something that you put on the grill or smoked or roasted. Really any protein source I think you could use with this, but it's going to alter the nutritional value just a little bit that's listed on the calendar. But again, meat is kind of hard to find right now. So whatever protein source you might have might work for you. If you're in the vegetarian mode, you can use a tofu, you could use beans. So there are different ways you can kind of substitute to make this something that you can eat if ground beef's not your thing.
All right. Very good.
So is your ground beef browned?
Yeah. It's turning brown.
All right. So, Gary, do you have a lot of grease down there in the pan?
Not a whole lot.
So Gary probably bought a little more leaner version.
Do you?
I don't know if the camera can see it, but I've got quite a bit of grease down there. But I'm still a little pink here. Gary, if you want to, and you have your strainer available, you can go ahead and drain yours if you'd like.
Yes, I have a strainer here.
Again, it's kind of hard to tell. You can't really test for temperature on this. We just want to make sure all of our meat is completely brown. We don't want any pink in there. And that's going to help us. We're going to brown it here, and then we're also going to cook it a couple more times as we add our ingredients. So hopefully we'll be all reached to temperature.
So I have my strainer here. I'm going to, in a bowl, so it's going to catch the grease in my little bowl here and strain the beef in here.
Yes, and I actually did the same thing. I've got a bowl and a strainer here. And the reason why we do that is just so if we dump a bunch of fat and grease and oil down our drains, sometimes that can really clog up our septic systems and our, garbage disposals. And so we really want to kind of use that and dump it in our trash can if we can, or dispose of it properly in a jar so we're not messing up our sewage system. All right, I think I'm there too, Gary.
Grease in there a little bit. Draining out the oil, I guess, right?
Right. Well, if you once the fat, the grease, it cools, it's going to solidify again and become a saturated fat. So that is actually all the fat that was saturated, that was solid there in the meat, but it just cooked out of it and becomes kind of a liquid form. And then once it cools again, it'll become hard, like a butter, like a oil, like a fat that you would see.
Okay. Okay. So now I return it to the pan.
Yes. So once you're all drained out, you can return it to the pan, and then we're basically almost there. We just got a few more steps.
That out of the way there. Okay. Back to my little sizzle.
All right.
And then
our next step is to add the carrots, mushrooms, water chestnuts, green onions, and garlic powder. And we're going to cook that for another 2 to 3 minutes until those vegetables are tender.
Okay. So I'm going to add the carrots. And the carrots, it was a 3/4 cup of shredded carrots, right?
So I bought the already shredded version, but you can shred those at home. And that'll actually save you a little money. Usually things that are processed beyond the whole vegetable are going to cost you a little bit more. So it's convenient, but hurts our pocketbooks a little more. This is the green onion. Green onions look like this. They are a part of the allium family, which we talked about a little bit on one of our shows that we did, Grow, Eat, Live. They're pretty impressive because actually when you cut off the root, you can grow those into a full onion again.
Really?
So you can look on our Facebook page, Nelson County Extension, for more information on the allium family, but it includes onions, leeks, and there are so many varieties to use in cooking that provide different flavors. So pretty cool.
Cool. Okay. Did we add the mushrooms yet? Oh, go ahead.
I haven't done mine yet. I was going to go water chestnuts. So you can see I kind of chopped mine up.
Yep.
Or fine, but this is 8 ounces, and the can that I got that looks like a lot like the can you have, it was 8 ounces. So
yeah, and I cut them, chopped them up, put it back.
Oh, there you go. That helps the cleanup, right? And I've got my mushrooms here too. It seems like a lot of mushrooms, but those are going to cook down. They'll lose all that water, and then you almost probably won't even be able to see them. So don't stress out too much thinking that's too many mushrooms.
Okay.
And do you add your garlic powder, Gary?
Yep.
All right. That's, I believe, a tablespoon of garlic powder. And again, with the green onions, if you have a different kind of onion at home and you don't want to go to the store, but you want to make this recipe, you could use white onions, red onions. They are just going to be a little different flavor, but not a big deal if it's what you have at home.
Yeah, so all the things we're adding have water in them too. The mushrooms, the water chestnuts, the carrots. So they had to, I guess, cook some of that out.
Yeah, they'll cook down, and you may even have a little water in your pan, in the bottom of your pan. But we just want to make sure that our onions, our water chestnuts, our mushrooms, they're all tender. I mean, mushrooms are going to be tender already, but you'll start seeing them kind of cook down a little bit. If your ground beef is cooked, really your vegetables are ready to eat, but you know, you can cook them to the texture you like. Some people like to cook their carrots a little longer because they don't like them crunchy. They like them a little softer. So it's kind of up to your preference, but on our recipe, it says 2 to 3 minutes. So we'll do it for about 2 to 3 minutes.
It looks like a lot of food.
Yeah. Well, it says it makes 12 wraps, and that 2 wraps are 1 serving. So it's 6 servings, 12 wraps. So for lunch, you can have a couple wraps. It looks like a lot of food, but calorie-wise, per serving, per 2 wraps, I think it's only like 210 calories. So you're not getting a whole lot of caloric intake, but a lot of nutritional value. More bang for your buck. So how are you looking, Gary?
Looking good. Yeah, smells good too.
Mine is smelling pretty good.
Yes, absolutely.
All that garlic powder's got it smelling real nice in here.
Absolutely. So we cook this for a couple minutes.
Couple minutes, and then our next step is going to be to add the soy sauce, red pepper flakes, and the ginger and the honey. So all of our remaining ingredients will go in, and I think I'm almost to a spot that I'd like to add the remaining ingredients. Are you?
Are you ready for the next step?
I think so. Are you?
I think so.
All right. So we're going to do soy sauce. So it's a 1/4 a cup. Excuse me. A 1/4 of a cup of low sodium soy sauce. And soy sauce is really high in salt. So it asks for the low sodium version. Sometimes that says low sodium on it. Sometimes it says light. You can look at the back and see what the sodium content is and just get the lowest sodium soy sauce that you can find. I'm going to go ahead and add that. Next is the red pepper flakes. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. Then ginger. I chopped some fresh ginger. Ginger root looks like this in your store. And you can cut kind of almost like a potato, just take the skin off. And then the ginger root, you can just cut those into slices and then dice them real fine. And that'll be just like using a powder, but you get that fresh flavor.
Yeah, so you have the fresh ginger, I have the powdered grounded ginger.
And either one works just as well. It's your preference, but ginger smells good, it tastes good. And again, in a lot of Asian-inspired dishes, you'll see ginger, garlic, a lot of these same things that we're using.
And the soy, that's what I was thinking, it's very Asian-inspired with some of the spices. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
then the last thing that I have is honey.
Yep.
So I'm going to try to pouring very slowly, but we need a teaspoon of honey.
Teaspoon.
Kind of scoop it out of there with my spoon. Man, it smells good.
Good stuff.
So it says we're going to stir and continue to cook for a couple minutes. But at this point, all your ground beef is cooked. All your other ingredients were ready to eat. None of it contains bacteria that you need to cook it all the way out of it. So as soon as you get to a texture that you like with your mushrooms and your vegetables, you should be good to go ahead and eat when you're ready.
Absolutely. So I'm going to review our ingredients to this for what we're making here. And it's lettuce wraps. It's the May recipe for the Food and Nutrition Calendar put out by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. And we had ground beef. It's a pound of ground beef, 3/4 cup of shredded carrots, 8 ounces of fresh white mushrooms chopped, 1 8-ounce can of water chestnuts chopped and drained, or you can use celery if you prefer to use celery for that. And that would be 3 stalks of celery. Also, 3 green onions chopped, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1/4 cup of low sodium soy sauce, 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1 teaspoon of honey, and then you're going to have 12 lettuce leaves that you're going to put it all into to eat.
Yeah. So I've got my lettuce leaves here. There are a variety of different lettuces that you could use. You could use iceberg lettuce if you want. Because romaine lettuce leaves are a little more coarse, I got romaine just because I knew I could hold it all in there without it spilling out on me. So it's really your preference as to what type of lettuce you use. But again, I have romaine today. What kind of lettuce did you get?
I picked up romaine, and then I ended up with the iceberg.
Which is fine. It's all the same. It all works well.
So do you want to load one up and see what it tastes like?
I think that's the next step. As you can see in the calendar, if you have one at home, you can make this a meal by adding either some rice, fried rice, to get your grain. Again, usually they ask for a cup of skim milk and then some type of fruit. In this case, they actually suggested strawberries, Gary. It's a good day. So I'll try to get this to my camera, but you can see I just put the lettuce leaf down on my plate, loaded it up with a little bit of the filling that we just made, and then I'm just going to kind of wrap it together like a burrito. And hopefully I don't get it all over my face and embarrass myself, but you could eat it with the utensil almost like a salad if you wanted to. I'm just going to go in with my hands today.
See, my iceberg was a nice round ball when I got it. So now it's still round. It's like a bowl.
There you go. He's got a lettuce bowl instead of a lettuce wrap, but it's all good. All right. Moment of truth.
Yeah. This is good for people on a diet too, because you're getting rid of the bread. You know, that's what some people do when they don't eat carbs and stuff. They use a lettuce wrap instead. What do you think?
It's really good. It's really good. And again, I'm not a big fan of the water chestnut, texture, but I did chop them up pretty fine, and I can't really even tell that they're there. So
I like water chestnuts. It is very flavorful.
Yeah, and I even thought, there's not a whole lot of substitutions for water chestnuts outside of maybe celery, because it's just such a unique thing to have in a recipe. But I even thought that like cashew nuts, if you're not allergic to nuts and you like cashews, a lot of people like cashews in their Asian dishes, whether it's cashew chicken or whatever. And I think cashews would be nice in there too. Not that you have to do it, and it would change the fat content a little bit, but it might add a little something to it.
See, great suggestions from Luke down at the Nelson County Extension Office. Thank you very much. This has been our May recipe in the Food and Nutrition Calendar for 2020, and it's our lettuce wraps. I've been cooking with Luke Freese from the Nelson County Extension Office. Hopefully next month we'll be in person doing it.
That would be great. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, contact the Extension Office. I'll be happy to work with you.
Yeah, you can give us a call, 502-348-9204, or you can find us on Facebook. Like I said, just search our Nelson County Extension page. We also have Terry on. She's got a new page, the Nelson County Nutrition Education page, and she's posting all kinds of recipes, some that are in the calendar, some that aren't, that you might like to try at home. So if you need suggestions, you can even ask her there. Say, hey, I've got chicken this week. What can I do with it? She'd be glad to answer that. So a lot of good resources for you.
Great. Thank you very much. Great.
All right.
With the calendar, it's been Gary White for Channel 6 and Kentucky Television.